Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly!
Hey! I so wish I felt as good as you just were on screen then, Pat. Hello and welcome to the bunged up Full Force Weekly. Yay! How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. You don't quite sound like you're doing as well.
Nah, I am still suffering from, well, for those that don't know, and thanks to everyone in the comments who are literally flooding it at the moment. Hello, everybody. Hi, Mom. Couple of hearts. There's one for Pat, one for me. Hi, Mom.
I'm reading the full cheese bag messages too.
There's a lot. Apologies for my voice, by the way. It sounds hilarious at the moment. Pat and I and Justin Bell, believe it or not, recorded yesterday for about 12 hours, didn't we? We've got a cracking monthly coming up for you guys, if I can get it edited in time. But enough of that. Yeah, that's probably why my voice is a little croaky. But yeah, I've been suffering from the dreaded Rona for the past, well, since Sunday night, as is my wonderful wife, Kate, who is still struggling as we speak. And yeah, and if that's why there've been like no news bursts this week. I'm really sorry about that, guys. It's just been very difficult to do anything in this state. But yeah, we're on today and it's happening. So you can't stop us. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to all the cheese bags in the comments. I did not stay fresh, as it were, did I? I went away from my my advice and I went the opposite of fresh.
Stale cheese bags.
Just cheese, just off cheese now. I'm just mold. Anyway, thanks guys for all your comments. Great to have everyone on, and let's get stuck into what has been a very it's been a light week in terms of the news, but there's still some probably pretty important things we need to discuss, right, Pat?
Yeah, sure. We'll be on forever because it's been such a light week, as usual.
It's going to be 3 hours long. Let's start the first hour segment with this.
An article from Bloomberg emerged last weekend explaining that Hasbro are seriously re-evaluating their entertainment plans after a number of factors have contributed to a poor return on their huge $4 billion acquisition of EONE in 2019. Since then, the company has suffered a number of setbacks that have had a direct effect on the deal. COVID caused the most damage, of course, making it very difficult to finish current projects, let alone starting new ones. The sad passing of former CEO Brian Goldner was another key component in the company's direction, as he was steering the ship closer to Hollywood, a direction the new CEO Chris Cox isn't as focused on for Hasbro. To top it all off, an activist investor acquired a stake in the company and pushed aggressively for a number of changes, including spinning off the Wizards of the Coast division. Hasbro fought them off, restructured the boardroom, and are now looking at two options in this re-evaluation. One, take the existing staff and make branded entertainment, dropping anything that doesn't fit that mold, or two, sell everything it doesn't want. Whatever outcome, we will find out when Hasbro hosts their next Investor Day in October.
Yeah, so again, not the sexiest news to discuss, is it, Pat? It's not like we've got reveals or toys to talk about necessarily, but this is quite important still. When I've got to say, like when Hasbro took EONE over, I was expecting just an absolute flood of things like animated features, shows, all that kind of stuff. I was just expecting it to just literally flood out. Obviously, COVID had a big kind of thing to say about that. But I mean, what were your expectations when they first took EONE over? Did you have anything in mind at the time?
My expectations, well, EONE would have had a lot of things in the pipeline already.
Yeah.
And so my expectation was, that would continue. And then maybe a year or so down the line, we would start seeing, more stuff come out that would be targeting some of Hasbro's in-house properties, as well as maybe some things that they've just worked on with other people that would make sense for them to put out if they had the right to do so.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that we'd occasionally start hearing news of more things, because EONE really is a very legit company. I've seen several EONE movies, and some of them are quite good. So it's just it is a little bit weird that they purchased EONE, and I don't know, a lot happened in the meantime.
Yeah.
And I think that as far as plans go, uh, Paramount still has Transformers, so having EONE involved, I'm not sure, how much that was going to. I mean, EONE could work in partnership with Paramount, and that sounded like Hasbro is actually looking to do that. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what all has gone on. I think that them reevaluating things may just be more a matter of corporate structure and deciding, do we focus on what we've always been good at, or do we hold on to this thing because, intellectual property and getting our own stuff out there and having the avenue for that is important, but how well have the gears started turning on that? I don't know. That's probably what they're looking at.
I was kind of hoping that, with this new reevaluation, that they definitely focus on getting us things like, G.I. Joe and Transformers and Power Rangers and so on and so forth. Like all of the kind of things that we were kind of expecting to kind of flood out. I kind of hope that does. I hope they retain it and just try and use it for that branded entertainment, because it seems like, I don't know, it seems like a really weird acquisition to then just, for $4 billion to then just kind of like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Just I can definitely see. I think selling off some of it is probably a good idea, because they've already sold off the music arm of it, didn't they? That also was also contained Death Row Records. So for a little while, Hasbro owned Death Row Records for a little while, but that has since changed. I mean, what do you want to see come out of EONE if they're to kind of maybe restructure and start getting us branded stuff? Do you want to see G.I. Joe stuff?
of course. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more stuff from G.I. Joe. I've kind of felt like, and I've debated this with people in the past, the routine for entertainment is and toys is to have a cartoon, then have toys, then have another cartoon, and then have toys. And that works on a very cyclical nature, and it's a good idea. It definitely, like looking at Mattel with Jurassic Park, in the off movie years, there was the Netflix show, which really kept that afloat. And I don't think that's necessarily all due to Mattel, for sure. It's not like Mattel made that show, but that has really helped keep it. At least I don't think they did. That has really helped to keep everything fresh. And that's what all these brands kind of need, is to not just have like all of their eggs in that basket of the one good show that's coming out, but to have a plan for one good show. And if that show lasts, make it last, but also have a few other ideas, on the back burner ready to go, because you could just keep refreshing these things. It's kind of how this works. But personally, I want live action in there too.
Yeah, I think it was all kind of a lot of excitement when the Amazon Lady J kind of thing kind of popped up. It was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. That seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth. And I think a lot of the ideas and the development and all that kind of stuff, I think a lot of that has probably gone, on the back burner while this reevaluation is happening as well. So, I think for a while everyone was wondering, where's all of the, the follow-up this and the TV show and the cartoon and all that, where's all that stuff gone? Because that was all like almost ready to drop, and it seemed like there were reveals and development and all that kind of stuff, and then it just stops dead. And now you're looking at it like, this kind of makes a lot of sense too. Like it's not, what's the word? It's not a coincidence that we're now sitting here and Hasbro are completely reevaluating what they're doing with this acquisition. So like the other thing that I was going to say is, obviously Brian Goldner was very focused on Hollywood. That's where he was going as a CEO. Rest in peace. Obviously, he passed away at a very early age last year, and that has kind of changed things as well, because then Chris Cox, who has taken over, that isn't really his focus. His focus isn't the same. So there's like a different direction that they're probably going in now. And yeah, at the end of the day, I want to see some GI Joe media, like big time. And you get these like little whispers where you think, oh, is something, are we getting something? Or you see like a trademark thing appear and you're like, oh my God, they're going to be doing something cool. And then it doesn't really lead to anything. So yeah, fingers crossed that we do get something pretty soon and that Hasbro can reevaluate and come up with a good way of actually utilizing this gigantic asset they've got. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and the other end of that is that, we look at, I mean, even here in the picture, there's Transformers and My Little Pony. But it's been a really long time since Hasbro's put out a brand new property that has taken the world by storm.
Yeah.
And, I think, prior to Goldner, I can remember that it seemed like Hasbro just didn't really focus at all on Transformers or G.I. Joe. And then whenever he came in, it was like, no, we need to make sure that that Hasbro brands are part of our core focus. I do remember that being part of his goal. And I think in his time, he achieved that. I mean,
yeah,
Transformers and My Little Pony are doing extremely well, across the time that he was there. So I kind of am curious to see what else they can do. They're kind of an idea company in addition to a toy company. So I don't know. I would like to see also something new. Like, what else can they do? Or even go back to some of the old ones, like some Inhumanoids. Where is Mask? Where is Mask? That's
Where's
the other
Mask?
thing I want to see is Mask.
Mask, Inhumanoids, any other hat that I have with a logo on it. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one, mate. I'd love to see some of those kind of like hidden gems kind of return again. That would be so awesome. So awesome.
I could see why Mask maybe is avoided because it's so similar to G.I. Joe, but I've always viewed where G.I. Joe is rooted in military and then, does a lot of other crazy stuff that doesn't have anything to do with that. Mask is more rooted in spies.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that Mask could be that's one of the things I would like to see.
Awesome, man. Sames. Well, that is our little chat on Hasbro reevaluating their entertainment plans. The investor event from Hasbro will be up in October, and I do end up watching pretty much all of that because there's so much stuff that gets like dropped and leaked and things you weren't really expecting, and then all of a sudden we see concept art for a new computer game, and we're like, hang on, what? So yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye, and as will probably most everyone else during that investor event, to see what we can kind of gauge from their plans. I've got a feeling we're going to get some more news about the computer games, because obviously that's something that's kind of like, it kind of popped up again recently, which was funny. That story about the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes focused kind of game they're working on, but it kind of came out almost as news. And I'm looking at it, and it's like this guy had done an interview, and he'd been talking about different aspects of, the computer game arm of Hasbro. And in one of those, he just mentioned, oh yeah, we're working on the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes game. And that was kind of like put around as like, oh, they're working on a G.I. Joe game. We know. We've been reporting on it for months. It's just like, it's funny how that stuff gets seen in certain places, is talked about, is reported on, and then all of a sudden you just have to leave it for a few months and it literally pops out of everyone's brains. And I think it's the same for me. Like, we'll be talking about news things, and I'll share something and I'll be like, oh, this is interesting, and then it's like, hang on, we've already reported on this. We reported on this months ago. It's just funny how that kind of stuff happens. But anyway,
well,
yeah,
you know what I haven't heard about in a long time? Wasn't there a cartoon with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow where we saw some concept art? We haven't heard anything about that in a long time.
No, we haven't. So that was the Brazil Expo, and it was the CEO of Hasbro Brazil who was doing the presentation, and it was Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow fighting a bunch of, like, I think they were described as what's the term? That kind of like Blade Runner kind of style. Like punk, I forget what the term's called. Cyberpunk, kind of like cyberpunk style bad guys, and they had like all like different kind of gear and stuff. And they look really cool. And apparently, it was done in like a style of like motion comic almost, kind of like stills that have got like a little bit of movement going on. But that was, yeah, and there's nothing since. And apparently that was going to be an animation and it was in development and nothing since. So yeah, it's weird how that stuff just stops. And I think what we're talking about now, Pat, with the entertainment reevaluation has probably got a lot to do with that too. I think a lot of things came to a halt, not just with COVID, but then when Brian Goldner passed away. I think a lot of things were like, well, we've got a new CEO and now it's like, this is my plan kind of thing. Anyway, that's reevaluation. Lots of it. Sorry guys, missing all of your comments because I'm not paying attention. Highly Articulated says, we all love G.I. Joe, but they need something that appeals to a new audience, so a reimagining or refresh may be necessary. Good point. You did mention that, didn't you, Pat, about doing something brand new. Smiler67 says they need to bring back Saturday morning cartoons, start with animation and get kids excited. Kids, get us excited again for Saturday morning cartoons, please. What else we got going on? Matt O'Brien says, I'm happy to see Hasbro's finally realizing classified is a large source of revenue for them, and they're expanding the team and upping the production levels, get us more vehicles. Yeah, that's something we might talk about a little bit later on, depending on the other news items. Cool. Sorry guys, keep them coming in and I'll keep getting to them, but we're going to move on to the next news item today. And again, sorry, it's a little bit dry. We're getting to the good stuff. We're leaving that to the end. But for now, we're going to be talking about distribution.
In an interview with Kidscreen magazine, Hasbro VP of EMEA and Asia, Marianne James, explained that the company was having to rethink its distribution strategy for a number of their lines, saying, "Today, unpredictability reigns, with chaotic supply chains affecting timing and streaming content rolling out in six-packs rather than full seasons. Meanwhile, disappearing theatrical windows have drastically changed movie launches and the consumer products programs that accompany them. Instead of dropping products based on seasons, we're now looking to where a rollout could be more relevant to a culture in one of our specific markets. One way Hasbro has shifted its strategy to accommodate the highly unpredictable nature of the market is to space out product releases in smaller waves instead of releasing the entire range in one large launch. This provides the ability to establish contingencies if logistical issues occur in the company's supply line. If the content is pushed back and we experience a delay at retail, or there are problems getting product on the water, it's better to be flexible and have a softer, more phased out launch instead of using a big all-encompassing 360 strategy, which is a fancy way of saying whatever makes it through goes out. This has been quite apparent with figures like the Tiger Force and Python Patrol. G.I. Joe wasn't specifically mentioned, so it is unclear how it will be affected, especially since they recently revealed an increase in the number of figures per wave to 5. I imagine the distribution issues will persist for a while longer, but whatever the outcome, Hasbro need to start working on ways to combat these issues or it will only get worse.
Yeah, the dreaded D word.
Yeah.
Distribution. Now this has been a problem, hasn't it, for pretty much the last 2 or 3 years, what with COVID kind of basically trashing everything and making it very difficult. Although it's funny how they were doing better during COVID in getting product out than they have been since. So it's quite interesting that we've seen, I don't know, it's quite interesting that we've seen this very crap back end, isn't it? Like, obviously the shipping delays were massive. And we had that, remember that map like from a few months back where it was like, just like someone spilt Fruity Pebbles all over it. That was like, I thought that was the worst point, and we're going to get out of it and it'll clear up and we'll get better. But it just seems to have been other things that have caused issues, like the other connective tissue, like once the product hits the port, getting it from the port to then the next place and so on and so forth. That seems to be more of a bane in everyone's lives than actually getting it across the sea. I mean, what do you think they have to do as a company? Have you got any? I mean, are you sitting there just thinking like, this is ridiculous, something has to change?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking that it'd be faster to just build a pipeline right to my house, and then it could just be sent straight through.
It's like a Doctor Strange. Just do one of those and just go into the factory, take the figure, and then close it.
Shove it in the pipeline, whatever's coming next. I'll just pay for it as it comes out. Yeah, no, it's I I do think that something needs to change, because I was kind of experiencing the pinch in the last month, and it's hard because, you know, I finally decided that it was necessary for me to update my list of pre-orders that I had.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because a bunch of things at the beginning of this month started all dropping at the same time. And, you know, it put me into a little bit of bank account panic, because you don't pay for these things when you pre-order them. You pay for them when they decide to ship them, and who knows when that is.
Yeah.
And so I made a list of all of the things I had on pre-order, and the scariest part of it was that the things that were last, which I can't remember what figures were slated to ship in January. It's a couple of G.I. Joes were planned for January, and they were at the bottom of my pre-order list. But people are already in other parts of the world starting to get them.
Is it Crimson Guard and Dusty and Zoran?
It may have been.
Yeah,
it may have been that wave. I think it was. But it's just like, man, if everything on this list ships whenever they want it to ship, I could end up with everything all in 1 month. I could end up with everything all in December when I'm trying to do like Christmas stuff for family.
Oh, don't.
I had to cancel a bunch of things just to regain control over whenever these things bill.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? I think, like, if the distribution wasn't such a problem, and this is in general, not just from this topic that we're talking about here, because I just want to highlight a comment here from Robert H. first. I've heard this change will only affect kids' focus lines and not collector ones. And I think you've got a good point there, Robert, because when they're talking about minimizing certain things, I know a lot of the focus was on Transformers, because they'd had to kind of rejig the way they've been doing things. Rise of the Beasts obviously being delayed, had to change packaging and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of like rejigging with the Transformers lines. But I think in general, I don't necessarily think G.I. Joe Classified is going to be like, they're going to be changed. They're not going to be like dropping it down to like 2-figure waves or 1-figure wave. They're not going to do that. They've already told us they're doing 5-figure waves. What my concern is the fact that distribution's so bad in general that they need to figure that out across the board. You know what I mean? Whether they're changing strategy in one area, I feel like G.I. Joe is still, it's constantly with G.I. Joe figures, it seems. And I know it's with other lines too. It's not just G.I. Joe, but when your focus is primarily on that one thing, my God, it stands out, doesn't it? And Andrew Clark has mentioned Brian Flynn intimated in a Foosh interview that the distribution issues will continue for a number of years. And I think that is true. And I think that's why Hasbro are trying to change their strategy for a lot of other things that they're doing, probably to allow for even their other collector lines to maybe take up some slack as well in that space that's left. So yeah, it's a mess is what it is, and it's going to take a lot of figuring out. How long do you see this going on for, Pat, in terms of crap distribution?
Well, I mean, Brian Flynn would know better than I do. And not hearing that from Brian Flynn, I would still think that we're going to be experiencing this for probably, trailing off. Like, I don't think that 3 years from now will be as bad as it is now. But I think 3 years from now, there will be a couple of things that are still an issue. And we'll go, why is that? Oh, well, it's still because of those old distribution issues.
Yeah.
I still think that that's going to be happening. I also think that we're due for, and it's already happening, where some stuff is showing up at closeout stores that's relatively new. I know that happened with an entire wave of the Masters of the Universe figures. I saw like that Tila wave, the classic looking Tila for the Netflix show, was at Mark's. It was $8, and it's like, really? That's kind of weird. But yeah, there's going to be some stuff slipping through the cracks, and some of it just showing up all at once to like in too much of a fashion.
Yeah, and I still can't believe people are waiting on like Tiger Force Outback, for example. Like I'm so surprised.
I don't have one.
It's crazy. It's just nuts. Matt O'Brien says, I'm cooking breakfast and have the fan on. Can you guys please speak up? Sorry, I knew I'd already read it. I thought it was funny. And yes, Jace, somebody did say it, and they didn't follow up with, "Oh, I didn't know it was you." So there you go. See, it's hard to do when I've got such a terrible voice at the moment. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, it's a crap thing, and it's like it seems to be kind of like an ongoing thing. And I feel like, you know, I don't think we need a news story to know that Hasbro are trying to like combat this in some way, shape, or form. But it's feeling more and more like, you know, the G.I. Joe thing is getting further and further away. And even when you talk about Brian Flynn and Super 7, I've spoken to Brian Flynn this week. I'm editing as we speak with that as well. I've got a little bit more to do on it. That should be out this weekend at some point. But I had a great chat with Brian, and that, like I said, you know, will be going up very soon. But with Super 7, you know, they're in a similar thing. Like, we're still waiting on wave 1 of the Ultimates. Do you know what I mean? That's still to come. So yeah, the fact that this isn't, it just feels like G.I. Joe is getting hit at the moment with this kind of stuff. But it's only because I'm focused on it very, very closely. Anyway, so I'm feeling the burn, and I just saw another Zorana. I can't do it again. There you go. You can put the two together, and you've got the whole quote now. Andrew Clark says, "I wonder if things do start shipping en masse, they would actually hold some stuff back to avoid that deluge Pat described." You'd think they might have to, but then you'd also probably be thinking they've got to get it through and out and ready for the next supply, you know, to stop the blockaging, I guess. Because that's the thing, they might be able to hold some stuff, but then at the same time, you know, they need to make space for the next lot as well. So like I can see the absolutely terrible scenario that it could be. And what do you think, Pat? Do you think they should drip it out like a little bit, like on a weekly basis or something?
I think it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
You know, obviously don't hold back on getting Tiger Force out back to other parts of the world if you can, you know.
Yeah.
And it's going to be weird that we see stuff show up so far in advance before it hits the United States. That's what's happening. Yeah, I could see doing that, but even in the scenario we had, like in 2019 and the pre-COVID world, you still had stuff go on clearance. There still is an overabundance of some things. So I think there's the danger if you hold too many things back, you're going to have to pay for warehousing now. Yeah. So it's just a matter of, on some of the stuff, probably just a matter of cutting their losses.
Yeah, I think that's true. And also I would just be like, just get it through, get it out, get it through, get it out onto the next one. Get that kind of chain moving and get it just moving again, I guess.
Yeah, because we can't have what we did for a while there, which was empty shelves, like an entire aisle at Walmart and Target with like 2 figures in it.
Yeah,
one Hot Wheels per peg, or no Hot Wheels at all in the store.
Exactly
what I was seeing.
Yeah. Droz says, finally, BBTS seems to have got their shipping containers in this week or recently. They have a ton of things in stock now. I noticed that actually, Droz, that BBTS all of a sudden were, you know, it was like, you know, shipping to people and stuff like that. Sean says, Super 7 has always been super late, even before COVID. Yeah, totally. They've kind of, you know, but there was still a cyclical cycle, should we say, of reveal and eventually getting in hand, and then so on, and you know, so at least there was movement, but at the moment it just doesn't seem to be any movement at all. Anyway, yeah, okay, that is Hasbro's work on distribution, and my goodness, I just want to move on now because it's making me depressed just talking about it. But now we can talk about something more fun, Pat, can't we? We can talk about some Target news next. You happy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Target dropped some info on Monday regarding their Fall Geek Out. The collector-focused event reveals brand new pre-orders from multiple companies for specific brands each week, and it started yesterday with McFarlane Toys Batman figures. NECA will get the next 2 Fridays in a row before Mattel on the 16th of September, and then most importantly for us, G.I. Joe on the 23rd. Funko will have the next reveal on the 30th with one final mystery drop on October the 2nd. Each reveal is at 8 AM Central or 9 AM Eastern, and each customer is limited to 2 units per item with each order. I'm excited to see what Target have in store for Joe fans, and considering it doesn't specify Hasbro or classified, then we could be looking at Super 7 or another licensee with the brand. We shall see, but I do hope we get another few Tiger Force and Python Patrol additions to the classified line.
Yes, I do. Even though you're still waiting on Outback, I still waiting on Outback, Recondo, and Bazooka. I want some more Tiger Force. This is fun though. I'm like, you can tell that like I'm way more up for this little topic of conversation. I don't do negativity too well, do I? Let's face it. And when it is like down and, you know, depressing and all that kind of stuff, you still want to kind of hope there's a way out of it. But with this, I'm just like, I'm excited again. I feel like there's a little online event we've got coming, Pat, with this one. And I know it's slightly different with Target Full Geek Out. It's just a reveal and then the pre-order and then away you go. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that G.I. Joe item on September the 23rd, or items, I should say?
Sometimes these things have, I mean, it all depends on distribution, not to bring up the negativity for you again. But sometimes they've actually had the things in hand quite close to these reveals.
Yeah.
So it may not be a situation where it's just a pre-order and then we're waiting forever. It could be something that happens relatively quickly. And I do think it's funny that the logos are, you know, the company name, except for this one, it's G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
It's not Hasbro, it's G.I. Joe specifically.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that maybe they'll show off some of the they've already taken pre-orders though for Tiger Force and Python Patrol, right?
Yeah, everything
So,
now is up. We're like up to date now with all of that, aren't we?
I mean, it would be cool if they got them in hand for this, but I don't think that they're going to do that. I think when they get them in hand, they're just going to fulfill those orders. I don't personally think that that's going to be what the wait is about. I think that it's going to be something different, which we're probably already aware of.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, this is my excitement. So obviously we've already got these revealed and Duke on his RAM. So with that in play, I would love to see them drop another little wave of Tiger Force and Python Patrol. I think that'd be kind of fun.
As a pre-order, right?
Yeah, as a pre-order.
Yeah.
Now, we've had so far, it's just been like, it's been 3 figures each time. It's been 1 Joe and 2 Cobra, or 2 Joes and 1 Cobra, depending on, you know, the groups that we've got so far in a wave, shall we say. And of course, Duke and the Ram was a separate thing as well. So we could either be looking at another like group of 3 figures for this particular theme, or we could be looking at Super 7, couldn't we? Or, you know, like another licensee. Now, obviously, this was an information that we noticed with the Ninja Coup, and I know a lot of people are already mentioning it in the comments, so well done to you guys for picking up on that as well. But yeah, Ninja Coup was on the back of the new carded Wave 4 reaction figures, and obviously Ninja Coup is based on the Cobra Black Ninja Coup figure from Argentina. There you go, on screen right now. And it looks as though that's the figure we're going to be getting probably as a Target exclusive anyway, based on figures like the Red Ninja, Fun School Snake Eyes. It's very likely that Ninja Coup is going to be a Target exclusive. Do you think then, in that case, Pat, that we're going to be seeing Ninja Coup maybe on the 23rd?
That's exactly what I think this is going to be.
Yeah.
I will be surprised if it doesn't include that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great, wouldn't it, if it was a number of things? Let's think about this quickly, right? It doesn't state the Hasbro, it doesn't state Super 7, it just states the brand. Now, that could mean it's because it's multiple items across different companies.
Yeah, that's true.
So we could be looking at, sorry, I'll just go back again. We could be looking at Ninja Coup and new Tiger Force and Python Patrol stuff. That said, Pat, if we've had, and I'm just going with patterns here, patterns. So first wave, we had Outback, Viper, and the Bat. Second wave, we had 2 Joes. We had Bazooka, Recondo, and the Officer. So do you think with this wave, we're probably reverting back to 1 Joe and 2 Cobras again? And if so, what would be some fun ones that you'd like to see if they were to do some?
Well, we know Copperhead's coming.
Good shout.
So that seems like it would be a shoe-in for this.
Good shout.
Other than that, I don't know. We also know Televiper's coming.
That's also very true. Could you imagine that? Copperhead, Televiper, and then a Joe. And like, who do you reckon the Joe would be? I'm like, to be honest, those are the 2 that I'd have chosen as well, Copperhead and Televiper. Yeah,
but we also have Crimson Guard, which was just, in hand.
That's true as well.
So I mean, it's almost like the rest of them are just kind of waiting, as well as the Cobra Trooper. You could just do, Cobra Python Officer, the other one, whichever the other one is. The Cobra
Python Trooper.
Yeah, Python Officer, which is the Cobra Trooper, right?
Well, we've got at the moment we've got Python Officer, which is using the Officer mold because they've fixed the.
They've fixed things again.
Yeah. Excuse me.
So Python Trooper. I would like to see that eventually. So I think that essentially all the characters that were released in Python Patrol. Unless I'm forgetting one. Am I forgetting somebody?
Well, so we've got, you mentioned there, Copperhead, Televiper, Crimson Guard, and the Trooper.
And the Trooper.
That would be everyone, because you got the Viper, you got the Officer, and the Bat never had the vintage one. So yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's everybody. Correct us if we're wrong, guys, in the comments. No. Good. Give them no chance, despite the delay of about a minute. I'm like, yeah, cool, we're correct. So in terms of Joes, then, who do you think would be who's on deck for Tiger Force GI Joe? I'm gonna say a couple. I'll take over at this point. Flint.
Yeah.
Dusty.
Yep.
Dusty is a massive one
as well.
Obviously, we've got Roadblock. But then again, we've had so many roadblocks that I don't think they're going to do another roadblock for a little while yet. And then obviously you've got, I'm trying to think of others at the moment that would make sense. I suppose like a Stretch Shipwreck and Stalker. Yeah, Stalker was in Tiger Force later on, not in the vintage line, but.
Yeah, sure. He would be a really good choice for Tiger Force. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Jeremy says Flint, Copperhead, Python Trooper. What are you guys thinking? What do you want to see? If we're talking 3 specific, 1 Joe, 2 Cobras based on the patterns. You can have whatever combinations you want. But yeah, let us know what you want to see.
I think I know what I want.
Go on then.
Sabretooth.
Oh, Firefly repaint. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'd want.
Well, they could call him Wreckage, but just make sure that he's based on that original color, not the Wreckage color. That's
definitely. I want a repainted Recondo, so he looks like his other deco.
Yeah,
those are like the kind of mainly tan with the brown stripes on his shirt and everything. And I want to see Torpedo, Tiger Force Torpedo has to happen at some point.
They're making Torpedo too, right?
They are, but
a possibility.
I don't know if they'd ever go that far.
I don't think so either, but it would be fun.
That would be one hell of an homage, though, wouldn't it? I would absolutely love that.
It's high on my list for O-ring stuff that I want, for sure.
Oh, Viper Scout says, wasn't there a foreign Python Patrol using Airborne's mold? Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Airborne and what was the other one? I forget the other. There's 2 of them.
It was Airborne and Ripcord, right?
Ripcord, yes.
Relampago and Gatillo.
Yeah, Gatillo and Relampago. That's the exact
Lightning and I forget what else. I forget what that translates to.
Yeah, because the modern versions, the club versions, they gave them the names Lightning and.
Well, yeah, but that's actually the translation.
Yeah, but I mean, they also gave them they changed it to give them their the kind of English speaking names. but I can't remember what the other one was called. It wasn't Thunder, was it?
No, it wasn't Thunder. I can't remember.
Lightning, and that's going to drive me mad. Unless someone knows in the comments, that'd be great. Also, I'm just gonna have to look it up.
I'm just gonna look it up. I was about to look it up too.
Was that Brazilian or Argentinian?
Trigger.
That was it. Good shout.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was. You're right. No, I think it was Brazil.
Yeah, I think it was Brazil, wasn't it? Anyway, yeah. Again, they would be cool as well. They'd be awesome. I think it's more likely going to be a pre-paint, a repaint. I don't know if we'd see like something brand new just yet that we're not aware of, if you know what I mean. I think, in all the names that we've been told and all of the stuff we already have, I think it's probably the Joe's probably going to be in there somewhere. Same with Televiper and Copperhead. But yeah, Crimson Guard, Crimson Guard's a good shout because Crimson Guard and Dusty are in the same wave.
Yeah, they seem likely, to be honest. They seem very likely. So it's probably would be Crimson Guard and Dusty, along with somebody else. But if it was somebody like Bat, that's just a little hard to predict,
Yeah, yeah.
They could apply these decos and ideas to almost any figure. So
absolutely. Either way, I'm kind of excited about that, and I do hope that we see a little bit of a mixture, and it's not just one item, or it's because I mean, with full Geek Out, by design, usually the reveals are multiple pre-orders. It's like it's not just like one pre-order most of the time. There are multiple items within the reveal for that particular Friday or whatever it will be. So I have to say I do think we're going to be seeing more than just one item. And then what happens on the 23rd? Bosh, one item, and Chris is like, distribution.
I mean, if it is that Super 7 figure, they definitely delivered well with the Red Ninja. So I think that if that is what it is, I would expect it to not be a long wait for it to ship.
Travis from Toy Kind of Mood. I assume it's you, Travis. But Python Patrol Major Blood is a future possibility. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's another good one, actually, because we haven't seen Major Blood since, have we?
No. And that's the thing about Python Patrol is that the Toys R Us set was a very different design color-wise.
Yeah,
but also a very good one because they kind of followed the vehicles more than they did the figures. But it was a really good-looking set.
Oh yeah, with the laser vipers and the rock vipers, and yeah, it's dope. I really like that the club version as well. I thought that was a really nice set of Python Patrol figures, and yeah, it's a nice deco. The kind of black with the maroon, and then that gold as well. Just really, it's really sexy. Yeah, I'm into that, and I don't think it would be out of place. Like the bat could probably tie in, to like a Major Blood deco. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that the bat's got like elements of that deco on it. So
if you're throwing club stuff in though, you could also get Beachhead there in the Tiger Force.
Hell yeah, absolutely. There's multiple options really when you think about it, and I'm just here for all of them. And I'm surprised we haven't. Actually, we were talking. Okay, so shout out to Pat. He did an amazing articulated points with Phil the other day about Red Serpentor. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a really good episode. Articulated points links in the description below. But yeah, go check out their latest video. Pat, we were kind of talking about this a little bit on message, but Serpentor, with Serpentor being like available now, or soon to be available.
Yeah.
Would you like to maybe see him take some sort of command of Python Patrol at some point? Maybe get a different deco?
Yes. Doing that episode with Philip really made me dig back into all of my thoughts about Serpentor. And yeah, I really would like one that looks like he did in that commercial. And if they wanted to pack that as Python Patrol, they probably could do that. I think, though, that if I had any second Serpentor, for some reason, like that art of him just standing there with like the bare chest, but the cape, and the pants that aren't like his armored pants, that are just more like, you know, not cargo pants. I don't know what to call them. like you know, military pants. They're just kind of generic.
Generic. Just say generic pants. Yeah, that's fine.
Like he was just created, and the only thing that he has is his helmet so far.
Sorry, I'm just imagining Serpentor in cargo pants or cargo shorts, and it's just making me laugh just thinking about it. Going out to pick up the mail or something on a Saturday morning or whatever, just walking out with his headdress and cape, completely naked other than a pair of cargo shorts and flip-flops, walking out. How funny would that be? Amazing.
Yeah, but I think that's a look of Serpentor that has not been touched as far as the figure goes. And it also is really weird. Like, Serpentor is definitely like in the top tier of figures. You know, he's not the part of the core character hump that we talk about a lot. No, he's not part of that. But once you get past that, you would think that there would be Serpentor on a regular basis. There's just not.
Do you know what he kind of feels like? And you might not feel the same way that I do about this. It kind of feels like, you know how you've got like G1 Transformers and then G2?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like Serpentor is almost like and he's not, but you know, the fact that he's so like over the top and crazy, it does feel like he's like starting the G2 movement almost in G.I. Joe.
I almost feel like he's the Galvatron of G.I. Joe.
Actually, that makes more sense. Yeah, you're right. You're right in that case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like the bridge. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And even in that case, there weren't a ton of Galvatrons for a long time. But I do think that I think there just needs to be more Serpentor on a somewhat, not a regular basis. I don't want to get 10 Serpentors, but the fact that there are these very distinct looking ones between the red one that Philip and I were talking about, and then the bare-chested Marvel ones, those are some pretty clear contenders, because the red would be just a repaint, so that'd be easy. And the bare-chested one is kind of iconic because he was in the comic a lot like that.
That's what it needs. Thanks, Jace. Amazing. Serpentor wearing Crocs. Brilliant. Absolute genius. Viper Scout says
Master wearing Crocs.
Yeah, it should be. Viper Scout says the lamprey from that set was amazing. Speaking on the club set or maybe even on the original set, Viper Scout.
I think that they're talking about the Toys R Us one, right?
Yeah,
because that lamprey is awesome. That's a good one.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. From that,
so's the Heat Viper.
Yes, they're all. I mean, it's a dope set. I love that color scheme. It's beautiful. Yeah, cool. Okay, well, that's Target. Like I said, we'll be finding out what that item is on the 23rd, I believe it was. Yep, 23rd of September. And well, hopefully it'll be multiple items. Hopefully it'll be, it might tick some boxes. It might be Ninja-Ku. You never know. Ninja-Ku might appear in the next couple of days, and then that might take it off the table completely. But it does. I mean, yeah, because we're like just under a month away. And in the past, we've seen Fun School Snake Eyes follow the wave in like so quickly. Like as soon as it hit shelves, Fun School Snake Eyes was up there.
Yeah.
Same with the Red Ninja. I could possibly see Ninja-Ku also following the same lines.
Yeah, but it seemed like they were in a case of their own shipping to Target, because I know Fun School Snake Eyes did not show up with the rest of the wave like he seemed to everywhere else for me, but then there were a ton of them later. I could also see Ninja-Ku showing up at the store like in 2 days, and then it's still being Ninja-Ku that is revealed on the 23rd, just for the fact that they ship to the store, and sometimes the store puts them out before they should.
Yeah. Well, 77T John says, I don't think we'll see anything new since PulseCon is the next weekend. Well, we're going to have to see something new, because that's what this is all about, John. This is what the full Geek Out does. So we're going to see something. It's just not, and I'm sure they'll, when it gets to PulseCon, are just going to be throwing back to it to say, oh, look what we revealed at Target. They do it all the time on all of the live events.
He may mean nothing new past the Ninja-Ku, though.
Possibly. If that is the case, then I take it back. But we're going to see something, is what I'm getting at. We're going to see something. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see something Hasbro classified, O-ring or whatever. Well, we weren't going to see anything O-ring, are we? But if we're not going to see something classified, I should say. But you never know. You never know. And I think, I don't think that they don't necessarily always have to reveal the Target exclusives on, their streams, even though they have done a lot. But with this, I think timing-wise, it feels like maybe we could be seeing something. It just seems like they'd want that. Target would want the kind of like the break on that. Anyway,
yeah,
we will see, I guess. Brent, good shout. Is Haier ever going to make us some awesome modern 4-inch figures? They may already have done so, and we just haven't seen them yet, because how long have we been waiting for this information, Pat, this news? It's just like this is the most suspenseful news since, are we getting a, was it Mondo? No, not Mondo. Are we getting a Mezco Firefly? I think it was.
Right. That's true. I don't know. That's a good question. And maybe the anticipation and the length of time that we've waited has maybe built it into something more than it's going to be. It could just be like a set of 4 figures and then they're done.
Yeah. Could be. I'd like to see something though from Haier. It's been so long now. Maybe they're having issues in the same way that everyone else is with, production delays and shipping still actually causes issues even when you're doing the little bits in between, like commenting on certain engineering aspects and sending things back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So it's still, there are still issues with that. And so I can imagine that maybe they're just, it's just dragging on in much the same way as it is for a lot of other companies. Anyway, that is Target Full Geek Out news. We will find out what G.I. Joe items are available on the 23rd of September. And I'm going to be very excited that morning, refreshing the page so much. But anyway, we will find out and we will let you guys know, obviously, and report on it. Now, next up, we have got a little bit of competition information for you. So last week, we ran a competition to win some cool stuff. Here's all the details, of course, including the winner of said stuff and on any other follow-up stuff. So here we go.
We ran another competition last week to give away a second set of classified Storm Shadow, Cobra Officer and Spirit figures and asked you the question: the 1983 Swivel Arm Cobra Trooper action figure was used again for which figure in 1989? The correct answer was the Python Patrol Cobra Officer. We can reveal the winner of that competition is Transfixed. Congratulations! We will get those out to you as soon as you email us your mailing address at thefullforcepodcast@gmail.com. No competition this week, but stay tuned for more of these giveaways in the future. Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Yeah, you cheese bags. I was kind of trying to, I didn't want it to be like a trick question necessarily, but it kind of ended up having to be, because I'd already done a question about Storm Shadow and Spirit, and I thought, we've got to do a question about the old officer somehow. So I thought, there's that little bit of trivia that everyone seems to know about now, that back in the day in the vintage line, the 1983 Swivel Arm Cobra Trooper was used as a base for what should have been a trooper, a Python trooper, but it turns out the names got switched and we ended up with a Python officer instead and a trooper using the officer body. Pat, I still say that I kind of wish Classified had continued the mistake. I think that would have been such a fun homage.
Sure. The confusion's going to be there whether or not they did.
Yeah.
I got confused just earlier in this episode. I couldn't remember if they fixed it or if they didn't fix it. It's confusing. In the Toy Fair catalog, when our Hasbro first showed them, they had the names correct.
Yeah.
The officer was the officer mold.
Absolutely.
And then somehow, before things got put out, I've never found out why that was the case. Like, was that a decision that was made? Because somebody has to approve all that stuff.
It got through. I just because the thing is, like, I can see it being one of those things where if you're not really 100% focused and paying attention, I can definitely see that getting through, like, genuinely, because they're so similar. And even though the decos are completely different on the new figures, but that's not helping you. That's not helping you on the previous stuff.
Right. It's not.
So yeah,
No.
so I could, and I think it looks to me like it was an error on the card, almost like, you know, they got the cards switched or mixed up, because isn't there a case where the accessories listed are incorrect as well? Do you know what I mean?
Sure. I'm not sure.
It's something like that. Like they don't line up. Something doesn't line up.
Possible that somebody looking at it went, well, you know, the AK probably makes more sense to go with a trooper, and then a sniper rifle would be, you know, somebody far back, so that's probably the officer, and they may have gone with it. I don't know. In my mind, you know, it's the officer in the story world was just like, hang on, my outfit's really loud. I want to be wearing that. We're switching. So
I like that. Nice bit of headcanon there for Pat. Anyway,
yeah.
Congratulations to Transfixed. Get us an email, buddy, as soon as you can, and we'll get those out to you ASAP. I also want to shout out Cast Cat, who won last week's competition, but because I've been sick and in quarantine for the entire week, I haven't been able to get your figures out, buddy. So apologies. Both sets will be shipped to both parties, both fortunate parties, as soon as I can absolutely do so safely. Yeah, so there you go, guys. Thanks very much for taking part in the competition, and thanks for all your comments. Everyone, like, I remember actually when I first put the question out there on last week's episode, and then talked a little bit afterwards, I noticed the comments changed pretty quickly from Python Trooper to Python Officer, because I mentioned that it might be a trick question, guys. You're going to have to, you know, make sure you're paying attention, unlike Hasbro were when it came time to approve the Trooper and the Officer. But anyway, thank you so much. Oh, Cast Cat, no worries. Thank you very much. But don't worry, they will be in the post as soon as I possibly can get them in. Don't worry. So have no fear. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of that. Oh, thanks, Cast. Take good care of yourself first. I will. Oh, sorry. So I'm getting confused. Oh, let's just ask this question for Matt then before we go any further. Chris and Pat, how many brand new figures might we see at PulseCon, even if they are just name drops? Well, PulseCon's a big event, so I imagine we're going to see a decent amount of things. What would you say, Pat?
I would guess that we're going to see some of those renders in color. You know, we'll see the progress that has happened on anything that we've already seen, and that's part of the crazy thing about seeing some stuff so early on, is that it's not going to. I think that we'll see fewer things for the first time in first color. You know, so we should just kind of expect to see some things we've already seen at some stage in a further development, and then probably some new reveals, I would think, as well. Maybe 5. I'll expect 5. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good shout, because obviously it's the 5-figure wave scenario, isn't it? So yeah, that would be that would make a lot of sense.
Wave. Yeah,
I think we're going to see renders, or like the kind of development kind of stage stuff of some of the names we haven't seen anything of yet, like you just mentioned. I think we may even see like digital renders, full digital renders of the stuff that we only, like, you know, Torpedo, Shipwreck, Copperhead, Rock and Roll. I think we'll probably see those in more detail. Obviously, we're going to have Serpentor to buy. I think there'll be pre-orders probably for the next wave of figures. Was it CoverGirl? The CoverGirl wave with Falcon and those guys, and Outback, and
I don't remember who else.
Crimson Bat, and that's it. Oh no, who's next? Anyway, well, I think we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. And also I think we'll see some. Oh well, I think we'll get finally some O-ring information, because they've been kind of pushing that back a lot. In recent,
what I was about to say is that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. So
that's probably what we're going to go with there. And RKW says Snow Job render. That actually would be really cool. I can't wait to see Snow Job.
Yeah, that's true. I bet that's true.
5 Z Force characters, says Christoph McLeod. And I would agree, that would be great. 5 Z Force characters. Name which 5 Z Force characters do you want, Christoph? Look, it's my face. Look, it's me. It's another one of my amazing parody accounts. I love it. This is brilliant. What was the other one? What was the other one that was really hilarious? I can't remember the name of it now.
I don't remember it either.
These are getting better. These are getting so much better, and that looks better than me.
I don't know about that.
I like the eyes. The eyes are great on that one. I would love 5 Z-Force characters though, for sure. Slaughter's Marauders Barbecue is the other one. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone else who just said that. Okay, right then. Oh, someone's asked another question. Sammy says, will this be the first PulseCon since the launch of Classified? No, we've had a number of PulseCons with Classified, haven't we?
Yeah. There's been several of them.
There's been several PulseCons.
Classified kind of launched right before COVID hit, and PulseCon has kind of come out of some way of engaging with the fans during the shutdown, and it's just kind of continued on since then.
Yeah, they kind of they're one and the same almost.
I would love to hear some news of a HasCon or an official G.I. Joe and Transformers convention coming back. That would be something that would be news that I want to hear at some point. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, then. Well, let's get on to our shout-outs then, fine. I don't know. We've still managed to do an hour. I don't know how we manage this stuff, honestly, but we've still managed it. But anyway, let's get some shout-outs.
Hey there, guys. Just wanted to let you know about an app that I've been helping to develop for a few years now called HOARDAR. But what is HOARDAR, I hear you scream? Well, a number of years ago, I discussed a project with a good friend of mine and now co-owner/developer about an app that could help collectors of all shapes and sizes. I'm talking about the shapes and sizes of the collections really, but also people. The app would be a place where you could share your new items, build collections and sub-collections, or just browse the feed to see cool things. Well, we made it. We tested it for a number of years, and now it's out there for you to enjoy on iOS or Android devices. You can upload a single item at a time at your own pace and slowly build your collections. You can post status updates that could be related to your collections, like getting a delivery or posting a scene in which you can tag items in that image if you've uploaded them in the past. You can add tags to your items in order to easily search for and find them, and of course to add them into your respective collections. You can like posts, comment on them, or start a conversation with a fellow collector, directly message users you follow, and even add items you see on your feed to your want list. If you prefer to use your computer or laptop, have no fear, you can use the website browser version and even utilise the awesome inventory option, allowing any user to change certain details, add notes, upload bulk items from spreadsheet files, and download a CSV of your entire itemised collection. We made this app for collectors, and we hope that you enjoy using it as much as we enjoyed creating it. Now get to hoarding.
Get to hoarding indeed, you hoarders. Pat, we've got some shout outs, but before we get into our shout outs, let's take a couple more questions and comments because we've got loads just flying in at the moment. What we'll go with first is Charles Kevin Porter says, think we'll see any Street Fighter crossover. Now, having said that, there's been a recent one, hasn't there, with Power Rangers and Street Fighter, with Chun-Li and Ryu getting the morphing kind of like treatment. That's not a bad shout, actually. What do you think? Do you think we could ever see Joe and Street Fighter crossing over again?
From the way that Street Fighter seems to be an easy thing to cross over with, and there was the Transformers Street Fighter crossover, I kind of think that if Hasbro wants to do a G.I. Joe Street Fighter crossover, that Capcom would be open to that. I think that it's a good thought. Those would be really good figures if they were to make some like the classified line for Street Fighter. I think that Street Fighter fans would gobble those up. So it's a good idea for sure.
Tell me how good this sounds, Pat. Retro card back Street Fighter G.I. Joe crossover.
Oh yeah, there you go. You don't just do it as a classified box. You do it on the retro card backs. Yeah, I think it's crazy that we're there. That's a winning idea already. But yeah, I think so. I think that's, I wouldn't do it right now, but maybe in another, probably even in another 6 months, it would be fine to have that pop up. I do think that a lot of collectors of G.I. Joe look back at that and are like, well, it's not really GI Joe, and ignore it and don't collect those as a part of their run, and that's fine. It's up to them, but it would be up to them again if they did it again. So, you don't have to buy everything. So I think that, yeah, they could do it, but would they try to blend this time rather than just releasing straight up Chun-Li or Ryu? Would they try to have them be blended with the characters so that it would be because it almost was Scarlet as Chun-Li.
I was going to say they might stick quite close to the vintage construction and then have like, where there's like flesh painted on like what is clearly textured material or something.
Use the bat to make Zangief again. I don't know if that's a great idea.
Exactly. No, I think they could do something at classified scale, classified engineering, and just make them Street Fighter characters and figures.
I think that would be the best way to go.
They'd look awesome. They would look so awesome. They'd look so good. And you could you could use like the body for Zangief. You could use like Gung Ho or Roadblock's body, couldn't you, to kind of get that kind of heft on him.
The one figure I'd probably want squeezed in there, shoehorned in there maybe, would be Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile, like a movie Guile.
Yeah, the movie. Oh my god, the best G.I. Joe movie of all time.
Capcom may want to forget about that, though.
They probably do, yeah. We've got another nice little question here come up from Jeffrey. Says, what celebrities would you like to see in the classified line? I will go with, I think, well, I know what you're going to go with because we spoke about it yesterday. But I'm going to go with, it's a hard question. I'm going to go, I want the Fridge because he already exists in the universe. Come back to me. I know what you're going to say though, Pat.
Am I going to say it or else, or should I wait for the monthly?
Nah, just say it. It's no big deal.
Yeah. My thinking is that G.I. Joe passed on Rocky Balboa years ago. If they were to talk with Stallone now and make a deal with him, it would be more than just having a celebrity added to G.I. Joe, which is a good idea. There are a lot of fun people that would be enjoyable to have as a figure and within the G.I. Joe line. I think that it would be bigger than that since it was something that was public and canceled because of that Marvel comic back in the day. It would just be fun to see a redacted version of that page from the comic that said, hey, Rocky Balboa does not identify a member of the G.I. Joe team, to go back and say now he does again. And not just do Stallone, but to do Rocky specifically. Yeah. And sometimes I think that it would also be fun, like fantasy casting for like who would you want in a G.I. Joe movie? Like, I think there's some options to have a celebrity as a G.I. Joe character sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
That could be fun.
Jeffrey says Sly as Rambo as well. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
This is a great shout from Highly Articulated. Larry Hama. Absolutely.
Yes.
Get him as an actual like proper classified figure. Like they've done with what do you call it? Oh, goodness me. I know it's comparing apples and oranges technically, but George Lucas as a stormtrooper.
That's true. But I mean, it's Larry could just be the Tunnel Rat figure again because that was based on him. So it would be cool to have, to go back with modern sculpting and make Larry again.
Called it. Sith Viper 77. Yeah, agreed. Classified Mr. T, please. The whole A team, actually. The whole A team. Okay, sorry. Shout outs. That's what we're supposed to be doing here, Pat. Who's your first shout out?
My first shout out goes to Philip from Articulated Points. I appreciate you bringing up the episode earlier today. Philip and I had a really fun time talking about Serpentor recently. It was nice to have a nice sit down where we actually got to talk a little bit more and have a back and forth about Serpentor, because doing that one by myself, I just thought, because I was going to do it by myself, but then I thought, you know what, Philip's going to have some crazy good stuff to add, and of course he did. So it was a fun one.
It's a great episode, and it's one of those ones where
appreciate
I'm watching it initially, and I'm going, it's not red, guys. And then as by the end of the episode, I'm like, oh yeah, it could be red. I like started off going, isn't it just like crap animated like transference of what should be like maybe like a more of a copper or a brown kind of color?
It might be.
But then by the end of
the
the episode, I'm all on board with you guys for like a full on. Now this is red. There's red in it. That's red. Like, but like I said, I started to watch it and I'm like, you guys are saying red, and I'm like, that's not. Don't be stupid. I was like almost about to message you and say, sorry, Pat, was not with you on this one. And then at the end of the episode, I'm like, yeah, you got me. I'm in. Like eating popcorn as I'm watching this.
It's it's probably more like what Philip says in the episode of a burnt umber, but it's interesting. There's some really interesting history to Serpentor that's just kind of I think hidden in plain sight. So that's what we wanted to bring to light.
This made me laugh, by the way. Sorry, Jay Stray was like, why aren't the comments filled with wanting the Rock as roadblock? And the response from RKW is, it doesn't matter what you think. Sorry, that's for all the Rock fans out there. You'll know what that means. And that made me laugh a lot. Anyway, okay, yes. Go check out Articulated Points, and that Red Serpentor talking point is brilliant with, actually it's full on episode, and I'm saying talking point, with yourself and Phil, and shout out to Phil as well, who's not in the comments. So I'm annoyed that he's not watching. I'm just kidding. Right then, next up, we have the whole fam. Shout out to my wonderful mum and dad in the the UK, and my wonderful fam in the US, and also to Kate and little Phoebes. Obviously, Kate and I are struggling at the moment. Kate more so than I am, obviously, with now because she's a little bit behind. I'm like a day ahead. Hope. Wishing you get well soon, because that means I'm getting well soon too. Phoebe's taking it in a stride though, so good girl. And of course to Brian Sauer for our amazing graphics. Got him working overtime at the moment because I've got like the Brian Flynn interview, which is still in progress, and the monthly, which we recorded yesterday. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get it out before the end. It's going to be like 11:59 just before it turns on the 1st. I'm just going to be like trying to get it edited, but I'll try. It's a long episode, but it's a beauty. And Justin returns for that as well. So we talk HasLabs, guys, on that one, what we want to see from O-Ring and Classified. We should have done it in 2 parts. I realized that, but my COVID-riddled brain has not been thinking straight, and we just did about 2 hours worth instead. So shout out to Brian for doing all of our graphics and that. And also, like I said, shout out to Brian Flynn. This is the best screenshot ever. You might even better work out what we're replicating, Pat. Do you reckon you can work that out?
Are you on a motorcycle of some kind?
No, we're facing each other. Imagine.
You're boxing?
No.
Imagine on a seesaw.
Close. Imagine me as Timber.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're on the mine cart.
I'm on the mine cart, and we're both on Timber. And anyway, you'll see it in the episode. It's hilarious. So thanks to Brian for taking his time out of his day to kind of chat with me on that. So that'll be dropping again this weekend as soon as I can get it done. And well, that's it. Thanks to all of our viewers, listeners, to all of you guys and the patrons as well, all our patrons. Again, I would have been giving you a lot more content this week, guys, but it has been rough. So expect more next week. I was also going to see if I could do a live Q&A tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So if you don't mind, we'll just push it to next week. The patrons, you'll get your live Q&A next Sunday. Okay? Cools. Pat, thanks very much, mate, for jumping on and being like able to kind of, take most of the slack today, because I've been an absolute mess. So thank you very much for jumping on, dude.
Oh no, it's always fun. I don't know that I took any slack though. I think that I don't think I did.
You did. You slacked big time. No, wait, no. I slacked big time and you took it up, the slack. I'll stop talking now. Right, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for again. You know what we have to do at the end of these episodes? After 3, 1, 2, 3, full force. So like I couldn't even get the words out. How hilariously bad was that? Amazing.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.